Hi, Julie here. Today I'm going to show you how I make these little bookmarks made with paper beads and a regular jumbo size paper clip. And basically what you're going to do is you're going to get some beads, little E beads or size 6 seed beads, a regular jumbo paper clip, and some size 6 millimeter round beads, and some various different sizes and thicknesses of paper beads. I generally used anywhere from 1/2 inch to 5/8 of an inch long, and these are primarily made with cardstock. And then you're going to also need some GS Hypo cement. Let me pull up the tray of materials. Oh yeah, by the way you use this, so I have it stuck inside this notebook here that I use to write my crochet patterns in. That's basically how you can use it. You can also use it to put on a bag of chips on the top just to keep it closed. So here are the materials and tools that you're going to need. And I have various beads. I have like 6-7 more to make, so I've already picked out my beads. Basically what you want is coordinating beads to match your main beads. Like I have little red round 6 millimeter beads to match these red and white beads here, and so forth. And this is the GS Hypo cement. I'm actually running out of it, so I've ordered more, and that should come tomorrow. You're going to need 50-pound test fishing line. I like the stiffness of it, and that's why I'm using it in this project. You could use 0.45 millimeter 7-strand beading wire if you want to. You want that stiffness. And this is cheap wire that you can get at Walmart. It's not that great for jewelry making. I did use it for quite a while, but I've discovered Beadalon's 19-strand and 49-strand beading wire, and that's what I'm now using for jewelry. But this is great for this project. And I have silver, and I actually also have gold. But today I'm actually using the fishing line. And you're going to need wire cutters, and you're going to need crimping pliers for actually working on the crimps. And I'll show you how to do those. You're going to need clothespins, because when you do apply the glue, you're going to want to keep the beads in place, and you want to keep this together overnight, 24 hours, before taking the clothespins off. That keeps everything in place. And my plan is to make 50 of these, because I'm actually going to be giving them away when people buy stuff from my craft fair table at the local craft fairs this November. And I'm going to tuck this in some candies and a business card inside a little baggie and give that to them when they buy something. Okay, so let's get started. Set this stuff aside. Here's the crimp beads you're going to need. Actually, you know what? I'm just going to set aside the stuff that I'm not using right this second. I'm going to leave everything right here because I want to work on it. I want to use this mat. So I don't need those yet. And I think I'm going to do the silver ones right now on the camera. So I want this. So I'm going to take away the gold. Put that over there. And I already have some clear beads in here, but I'm going to sprinkle a few more in here because I actually have a few more to make, but I'm just going to make one on the camera. Okay, there's my clear beads. And first things first, you're going to take your paper clip and you're going to slide the beads on this part of the paper clip. So you're going to need 3 of those. First off, just slide those on there. And you want to make sure that the beads that you choose for these slide on your paper clip and go all the way up to the narrow end. And there are a few of these E beads that don't actually fit. I do find that 4 millimeter round beads, they have a hard time to fit. Like, for example, I do have one here that's already made. See, those are white E beads. I do have some round ones that I used. If I can find them. I made so many of them. Here they are. These little 4 millimeter round beads did not fit on the paper clips, so I ended up using clear E beads for this section. Okay, so, you know, it's the 4mm round beads. Unless you ream the holes out, they're not going to fit around this small section. And it's important that it fit on the small section, so that way this end will clip over your paper or your bag, something like that. So once you have this set aside, set it aside, grab your fishing line and take about 10 to 12 inches out. And I always put my tape back so it won't unravel on me. You're going to need 10 to 12 inches. Just kind of eyeball it. You don't need to use a ruler. And this stuff is cheap enough so that you can just go ahead and cut cut a little bit more than you really need. You want that wiggle room. Okay, so and then you're going to grab one of these crimp beads. Now I've tried various sizes of crimp beads to fit inside the crimp bead covers, and also to have two thicknesses go through it. And I found that the thick-walled 2 to 3mm works the best for fitting inside the 5mm crimp bead covers. And so I've been strictly using the silver crimp beads for all of these, even though if I use the gold crimp bead covers, they don't really show. Okay, so the next thing you're going to do is you're going to let 2 of the beads fall to one side and 1 bead fall to the other, just above the top part of this paper clip. And you're going to bring this up through, and you want to make sure that one side of, or one end of your fishing line will end up on one side of the middle bead, and then the other side falls on the other side of the middle bead, and I'll show you that in a minute. Okay, so you're going to go ahead, and if you've ever made jewelry with crimp beads, you'll know how to do this next step. Just go ahead and crimp the bead on, and pull that crimp bead all the way up as far as you can get it. It's okay if it's a little too tight. You're going to grab your crimping pliers, and there are 2 sections on this particular pair of crimping pliers. There's one at the very end that is a round section near the tip, and then there's one that's on the inside that kind of looks like a pair of lips when you look at it carefully. It's got 2 humps on my right side and a rounded bottom on my left side. It's really hard for you to see. But anyway, what you want to do is you want to use that inside piece first. And when you crimp this little bead, you want to make sure that your fishing line or beading wire falls on either side of the top part. And sometimes it's not always that easy to get this to behave. But basically what you're going to do is put that in there and crimp it down as hard as you possibly can. And then you're going to turn it and put it inside the front section of the crimping pliers, and you're going to fold that in half and squeeze as hard as you can. And if you need to round it again a little bit to make it smaller, you can do that. And at this point, I like to take my cutters and cut off the short end of the fishing line to get rid of that. Okay, and then we're at a point where we can start stringing on our beads. And I'm going to start with the clear E-bead or size 6 seed bead and put on one of my silver beads that I'm using. Whoop. And then put on another clear bead. All right, cooperate. There. And then I am going to put on one of these silver paper beads. Basically what this is, I have some gray colored, marble colored copy paper that I rolled up as a core, and then I took silver cigarette wrapper from the inside of a hard box of cigarettes. My husband smokes, I don't. And I wrapped a piece of that around the gray marble core. And actually this bead is probably about 4 years old. Okay, so I'm going to put on another clear bead and another silver bead. the silver round bead. This one's probably 8mm, which is fine. You can really use whatever beads you want as long as your total length of your beaded area is between 3 and 3.5 inches. You don't want it to be any longer than that. Otherwise it ends up being a really flippy or loopy loop. Okay, so that's another one. And the holes in these beads happen to be 1/16 of an inch, which is fine, it works, but I really recommend the 5/64 if you're using a real thick beading wire or this fishing line. It works, but sometimes the 1/16 inch beads or the 1/16 inch holes get plugged with the liquid glaze when you're glazing them. Plus you can also make these with all regular beads too. So this particular tutorial is really about making the bookmarks and not the actual paper beads. So I'm not going to be including the template for the beads with this pattern, but I am going to include the actual instructions and material sheet that you're going to need to make this project. On my website at paperbeadcrafts.com in the library. Just look under beaded projects and it'll be there. Okay, so I have the 3 silver paper beads that I want to have on here, and I have my 4 silver round beads and all 8 of my clear seed beads. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to work on putting my other crimp bead on and connecting it to the other side of the other clear, the middle clear bead that is on the paper clip. So I'm going to turn it over, make sure that my beaded strand falls down so it's on the bottom side of the paper clip, and then I'm going to pull this bead down on top of it, and then I'm going to put this end of the fishing line through the paper clip above that center bead. I'm going to pull it up tight. So let me do that again. Well, actually, I just pulled it up tight, and then I'm going to turn this around so that I can work it better, keeping that center bead. I want to keep my fishing line between that center bead and this bead over here. And maybe I shouldn't have used a clear seed bead, but hey, it's what I've got. Okay, so I'm going to put this end through, I'll fix that in a moment. I'm going to put that end through the crimp bead, and I'm going to bring this back to where it's supposed to be. All right, behave. Okay, let's try that over again. It's escaped from me. This has actually never happened. Okay, do that again. Pull it down. Pull this bead down. Pull this through. Draw it up tight. Turn this around. And I've done almost 50 of these so far. It's kind of weird. Okay, so I'm going to push that fishing line through the crimp bead. I know it fits. Just trying to keep it all together, keep it from falling apart on me again. Okay, so pull that through. And make sure that it is between that first and second bead. There we go. And pull it up tight before it decides to misbehave again. Pull it up real tight, and pull up your crimp bead, your crimp tool, and do the crimping thing again. Crimp it down, and then I like to go from the back side of it and bend it. And bend it again. Okay, so that part's done. And then again, I am going to cut off the excess fishing line at this point. Try to get it as close to the crimp bead as possible. And then the next thing to do is put the crimp bead covers on it. And I'm going to close that so I don't dump them. And I'm going to move this aside. I'm going to pull up 2 crimp beads. Sometimes they stick together, that's why I let it drop. Close that. And you're going to need this again, because it's this front section here that's going to actually do the crimping of the crimp bead cover. And basically what you do is you wrap the crimp bead cover around your crimped bead, put that right inside, and then with these are 5mm crimp beads. They're really big, so you really want to spread that apart and put it in the front section and squeeze it together. Alright, and then you're going to pick up the other one and do the same thing. You're going to wrap it from behind. And believe it or not, I'd be able to see this better if it was further away from me. I'm farsighted. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and crimp that down. Sometimes it doesn't want to behave and it might get away from you. Just be persistent. It'll get done. Okay, so I'm at the point now where I can go ahead and glue these. So what I like to do when I'm gluing these down is I want to completely remove my work surface. Get all my stuff away from me, get a whole bunch of these done ahead of time. Let's get this out of the way. And I am going to pull up what I use as a gluing surface. You can use whatever you want. I'm using an old notebook. Okay, so what you're going to want to do is you're going to need your hypo cement for this. And like I said, you're going to want to do a whole bunch of these all at once because this gets kind of messy. And like my last batch, I did about 20 of them. And basically what you're going to do is you're going to lay it down in front of you and you're going to pull these 2 seed beads away from the center section and open up your glue here. And I like the hypo cement because it's got an applicator. It's really a fine tip, teeny tiny, and it likes to ooze out on its own. And this tube actually has a needle that will stick back inside the hole. Okay, and I'm letting it drip. I'm letting it build up a bead of glue, and then I'm just going to drop it. I'm putting some pressure on these beads here on the left side to keep them away, and also by putting the dot of glue where I'm putting it is actually on the paper clip on both sides, just below where the fishing line is. Okay, and then I put that down and I push these 2 little beads up to the glue, and then this is what the clothespin is for. I make sure that the 2 parts of the clothespin are under this section here. So I'm going to go ahead and put the clothespin on and make sure that the 2 pins of the clothespin, of the paper clip actually, are under this front section. And then you set it aside and let it dry for 24 hours before you remove the clothespin. And these here have been sitting only a couple of hours that I have over here in this tray. I've actually made like 20 of them today. And these here I made the other day. So let me demonstrate. Oh, you see my glue is really pouring out now. This is why I like to do a whole batch of them all at once. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to close this up. And this is really hard to do. You have to line the pin up with the little needle and push it in. There, see, I pushed it in. And that closes it up and keeps it flowing. Okay, so I'm going to demonstrate on one of these. I'm going to try to pull the bead off. These, you know, these seed beads, and I can't pull it off. I'm pulling pretty hard, and I can't pull the bead off. And that I've had these glued for probably 2 or 3 days. And that's basically it. That's how you make one of these bookmarks. And I hope you decide to go ahead and make these. And remember, you can use any combination of beads that you want as long as it adds up to 3 to 3.5 inches to make your loop. Like for example, this one here has just the seed beads with the paper beads. Very simple. You can do any combination, but with me I like repetition. But also I've actually used some cone beads too, and some tube beads, so you can really use any combination in any size paper bead. And just, you know, go ahead and try out different lengths. As long as it's no more than 3 inches or so, 3.5 inches, 3 inches, you'll be all set. Alright, so that's it for today. I hope you like what you see, and if you do, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and look me up on Facebook. Actually, I'll share this on Facebook. I am on Facebook, I'm on Twitter. I also have the website paperbeadcrafts.com, and you can link to my Twitter and Facebook account from there. And also the pattern sheet will be available at paperbeadcrafts.com in the library. All right, thank you and have a great day. Goodbye.